Okay, guys, so Vicarius Filii De Lie, whether you've heard of it or not, you're going to hear about it now. Is it 666 or is it one great big lie? Vicarius Filii De Lie or Vicarius Filii De Lie? Basically, what it is for anybody who doesn't know, just so that everybody on the same page, is that the Adventist Church and the Mormon Church have been saying for years that on the Pope's mitre, the thing he wears on his head, the diadem or that tiara or whatever they call it, there is an inscription saying Vicarius Filii De Lie, which is Latin for Vicar of Christ. Sorry, Vicar of the Son of God. My mistake. Yeah. Vicar of the Son of God. That is what that word means. Phrase means, right? Now, basically, and I'm not going to get too much into it because, as I said, it's a lie. So, but it's important that we understand it as we continue on into understanding the mark of the beast and so on. We need to get rid of all the lies. Otherwise, you'll never get to the truth. Once you start on a lie, you're going to end up down the wrong road. You agreed?
Right on that.
Okay. So, whether it is hush mouth or not, this is actually something that the Adventists take credit for. This Vicarius Filii De Lie thing here. Now, where did it start? 1867, Uriah Smith wrote a book called Thoughts on Revelation. He wrote another book, I can't remember what year, but he wrote another one called Daniel and the Revelation. Those two books were his, not Ellen G. White's, Thoughts on Revelation. And in that book, he stated, calling an anonymous name, Mrs. A and Mr. M, saw with their own two eyes many years before, we talking in the early centuries, the Pope's diadem or crown or tiara with the inscription Vicarius Filii De Lie written on it. Now, inspection of current and as far back as they could go, because each Pope has his own made for him. So once you become a Pope, they get one of those made. And none of the inspections found this tiara or crown. The Catholic Church vehemently refutes the allegation, and there is an online offer for $10 million to any Adventist or anybody for that matter who could show proof that that is written on one of the Pope's crowns. Now, obviously, if that was written on a crown somewhere, somebody would have been $10 million richer. It's still out there for grabs.
I heard that.
Right? So the Adventists now turn around and say that how, and they use Ellen G. White's writings to state this, because she said that she saw in a vision that the Catholic Church cover up all those things. They take that crown and well, she didn't say the crown, but she said a lot of things they take and they hide it. All what they wrote and so on, and they'd say about this like Christ's son or whatever, they hid it. That's her allegation. Because they can't find it. So, okay, God show you that they hide it. Right, fine. The Catholic Church is a very bold-faced church. Everybody knows that. What they do, they do. And what they do, they do. They'll tell you straight. right? We changed the Sabbath to Sunday. There is no, you can find in every catechism, they're not hiding to say it. And they are very clear that the Pope's official title is not Vicarius Filii De Lie, it is Vicarius Christo, which means substitute in English, substitute for Christ, or vicar of Christ. Now, if you take Vicarius Christo and do the same Roman numeral things, you know, V is 5, I is 1, C is 50, etc., etc. You see 50? I don't think so. Yeah. No. C's 100. C's 100. C's 100. Right? And so on and so on. If you do all of that, and you all could do a quick search on Google for yourself. I'm not going to go through how they get this 666, okay? It's very straightforward. Roman numerals, and you just count it down. But the thing is that Mr. Uriah Smith was challenged from the day he wrote that book. But you know, when you put something in black and white, it's really like if you put it in stone anymore. So it was never retracted, even though the Catholic Church came out bold and said to them, you all are bold-faced liars. Now, for a church that claims that it has the truth, why is there any need to serve up any lies whatsoever? The problem with the Adventist style of prophetic teaching is that they have come up with this whole big notion, and not recently, this happened since back in the 1840s, when they get the great disappointment, working out the whole of prophecy to say that Jesus was coming, and the chicken licking story that the sky was falling down, etc., etc. The whole thing fell to the ground, and yet still they didn't get up and change it. They just try to now fit the Bible into their story. So it was a popular teaching back then that the Pope was the beast, and he was, and the mark of the beast. It wasn't about no Sunday law and all that then, and it was, you can remember them thought Jesus was coming then. It was that the Pope was the beast, and the Dark Ages, and all they did to Christians, and nail people to the cross and burn them and blah blah blah. They were using all that to say the Pope is the beast, and so basically they settled with that, and to this day have not changed it. So they trying to fit the Bible, particularly Revelation and Daniel, into what they have already perceived to be so. Whether it's so or not, it's beside the point. As far as they're concerned, that's what it is, so we had to make the Bible prove it. And so they come up with lies. Vicarius Filii De Lie is just one of the lies. It has so many, but we just deal with one today, right? And when they came up with this lie now and got refuted and shut down, they try to make excuses. And to this day, they're still purporting it. Mind you, you're not hearing anything from their key star witnesses, which is Doug Batchelor and Mark Finley, his predecessor. I searched. I can't find them talking about it at all. So like they went to the same meeting that Sam went to and got instructed, don't talk about that. But many other Adventist pastors and so on YouTube, including Kenneth Cox, they make it a big mantra for their discussions. All right. I want to go to this magazine to make some. Another question, has anybody heard of the Ministry magazine? It's an Adventist magazine. Anybody ever heard of it?
I don't know what it is, but Mommy said yes.
I never hear about it.
Okay. I was an Adventist for many years and never heard about Ministry magazine until I was doing this research. And it is a current publication.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get into it. I'm gonna change my screen share. Okay. So this is the official website for the ministry journal. It is the International Journal for Pastors. So you see why you haven't heard about it? This is for the hierarchy of the church. It generally goes out to the leadership. International Journal for Pastors, STA Encyclopedia of Seventh-day Adventists. Right? It
The
goes
pastoral magazine.
Yes, and they get it every month, as you can see here, up to October 2021 was the last issue. We are in November, so I guess just now the next one will come out. Why am I showing this is to make the point, okay? This is a current magazine, an official arm of the Adventist Church, okay? Notice that they still believe that angels have wings because the Ellen G. White tell them that.
That wouldn't stop.
I thought it had stopped when I saw they change the symbol on the official logo. I say, well, somebody get the memo that angels do have wings, but as you say, that is stopping. Right? The angels with
As
wings.
a matter of fact, the greater percentage of the world, when it comes to angels, they believe they are wing creatures.
Yeah. But you see, there's one thing with you believe they are wing creatures, and there's another thing that you get a vision.
Right, I get you.
I just always go with, if anybody tells me their opinion, it's your opinion. I have no qualms with people's opinion. Each to his own, I always say. Okay, me and you don't have to agree when it comes to opinion. But you see, when you say that God say, or you get a vision, or a dream from God, or some kind of something like that, and it includes information that is unbiblical, well, that is where me and you cutting a sharp. I just cut it one time. I'm not on that foolishness. There's either you're on the Bible or you're not on the Bible. You can't be saying God says something and the Bible is supporting it. We part ways there. So Ellen G. White, in Vision After Vision, see angels with wings. We done part ways already, because the Bible doesn't support that. That's the difference. So yes, plenty of people believe that angels have wings, but it's not plenty people say that they got dreams showing them that. Right? So anyway, I'm showing this page just to make the point that it is current, etc. Now, why did I come to this? Is because I was looking for the article. Somebody claimed that, it had an article on it. And I came here looking, there you see they have here archives. I'm looking in archives because I know the data I'm looking for is November 1948. And I'm not going to go through this again here, right? But basically, I clicked on 1948. Where is it? Yeah. And I'm looking for November. And you can see here, I'm not sure how clear it is on your screens, but number 11 is November. I clicked on it and got a dud, nothing. November 1948, but not the article itself. So anyway, long story short, I found a back door somehow by God's guidance, because I ain't all that IT special, and was able, not on this site, but was able to maneuver through the World Wide Web and find this magazine. Because on their site, they're not allowing you to read it at all. You can't open it. You can click on it as much as you want. So what is the point of having archives if all you have is a picture of the contents? So anyway, just so that you all will get the point, I'm going to look at, this is what I found, the ministry magazine. This is notice here, for greater power and more efficiency, official organ of the Ministerial Association of Seventh-day Adventists. The editor at the time was Leroy Edwin Froome, LEF. Just remember that. Right? I only show this page just for that. This is September of 1948. I'm going to show January of 1948 for another reason, but we won't get into that now. Stick with me, folks. I'm coming to the point now. All right, so here it is now. This is the volume that they don't want anybody to see. November 1948, at least not on the official website. As you can see, this is a scanned copy. Of course, back in those days, they had nothing in digital, so somebody scanned it, and this is found on their same website. If you look at the top there, it's ministerialassociation.org, but from the website, you cannot find this page. But somehow I found it through a back door. So I'm going to page 35, which in the contents here, it says the query column. So every month, have this column, the query column. So anything that is, out in the church that having arguments or not an official position and so on, they just discuss it in this query column. And the topic is, in this particular month, the dubious pictures of the tiara. Let's scroll down, page 35. That's it. And now we'll get to the point. Okay, query column. Is this big enough to read? Ian, you could read that?
Yes.
All right. So if it's big enough to read, can you please read? Now, this was written by the way, look at the end here, you see LEF. You see that just before the 3 stars on the right-hand side?
Yes, LEF.
Right, that is Leroy. Is it Edward?
E. Froome.
E. Froome, right? Let me just go back to, this is why I highlighted this one, because the abbreviation may not be understood. So this is the editor of the paper, of the magazine, sorry. Leroy Edwin Froome, okay? LEF. Okay, please read.
Dubious pictures of the tiara. Is there any genuine picture of the papal tiara bearing upon it the inscription Vicarius Filii De Lie, which some of our evangelists show on the screen in discussing the mark of the beast? Each pope, like any other sovereign, has his own tiara, which is the papal crown. There is therefore no one tiara that is worn by the full succession of papal pontiffs. However, personal examination of these various tiaras by different men back through the years and the scrutiny of the pictures of many more have failed to disclose one engraved with the inscription Vicarius Filii De Lie. There is none such definitely known to exist. As heralds of truth, we are to proclaim the truth truthfully. No fabrication should ever becloud our presentation of truth. The present truth of the threefold message is so overwhelming in its logical appeal and so inescapable in its claims that it needs no dubious evidence or illustration to support it. Recourse to any unreliable and fraudulent evidence discounts the very message that we are commissioned of heaven to give to men and reflects upon the honesty of the messenger. Years ago, one of our prominent evangelists, when in Rome, secured some impressive pictures of one of the papal tiaras, but the photographs were without any wording of any sort on any of the 3 crowns, front or back. Later, an artist, in attempting to re-illustrate Filii and De Lie, One
Vicarius
on,
Filii De Lie.
oh, sorry. To re-illustrate, took this genuine photograph of a plain tiara and lettered upon it the three words Vicarius Filii De Lie, one on each of the three crowns, on the premise that such was the name the Pope bore. And if it were not actually on the tiara, it might well be by the way of illustration. One of our leading publishing houses and the General Conference to whom the altered photograph was submitted emphatically rejected it as misleading and deceptive and refused to allow its use. All honor to them. Regrettably, some of our evangelists who do not have all the facts and to whom the appeal of the moment has sometimes outweighed the ethics of the case, and who perhaps have not thought through the fraudulent character of such plausible but specious,
Sorry.
But specious evidence have occasionally continued to use this or a similar fabrication. In the truth and honesty, this journal protests any such use by any member of the Ministerial Association of the Seventh-day Adventist denomination or worker body, of which the ministry is the official organ. Truth does not need fabrication to aid or support it. Its very nature precludes any manipulation, publicity. We cannot afford to be party to any fraud. The reflex action upon our own souls should be a sufficient deterrent. We must never use a quotation or a picture merely because it sounds or looks impressive. We must honor the truth and meticulously observe the principle of honesty in the handling of evidence under all circumstances.
Leroy E. Froome.
Leroy E. Froome.
Editor-in-Chief of the official arm and organ of the Adventist denomination. Okay? This was November 1948. How come 2021, this is still being touted, a lie, denounced by even the official paper of the church, still being touted because it sounds good? I mean, it's embarrassing, right? Then you come to meetings like what Sam talk about and say, let's play it down. Saying let's play it down isn't saying, why didn't they come out and say in that ministerial meeting, Sam, it is a lie. Let's not hear this one more time again. Why didn't they come out and say that?
The downplay was because of the offense that they are causing with the rival, I should say, or neighbor, I don't know how to call them.
That is another way of saying we talking the truth, but we had to kind of hide it. Come out and say it is a lie. As you can see from this reading, it is a lie. They know it is a lie. They've always known it was a lie. Even when Mr. Uriah Smith, the author of the lie, started it, he was denounced by many. I've read other articles going back to the general conferences of the day where he was denounced not only for that, but some other things that he had said. And the church is quick to say Ellen G. White never supported him with this Vicarius Filii De Lie thing. So once she didn't support it, of course, as far as they're concerned, they didn't support it. And yet, it is, I tell you, almost every crusade that I went to, at least it was in all, not almost, it was in every crusade that I went to.
It is sadly disappointing because I have had the privilege of attending many workshops, right, by some Adventist scholars and renowned theologians and so on. Some of them give you the film shot and thing, boy. And it is so convincing what they're preaching. And it aggravates, it gets you kind of vexed now, when you see a big organization that everybody, so much people are following and so on, and you're promulgating these lies and that kind of thing, you know, and using things in the Bible. Like when you and I talk, we talking about the city on 5 hills,
Mm-hmm.
and then you jump and tell me about Jerusalem. I say, well, you sure? You say, yeah. But you're taking one and placing it in the shoes of another and that kind of thing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and fabricating things. I find that so ridiculous. And you're religious body, you're talking about soul salvation, people and that kind of thing.
You're talking about you have the truth. That is the Adventist by words or by line or by statement, whatever. We have the truth.
Is the remnant
But yet
church?
you're lying.
We have the prophet and we get
The mantra.
Yeah, the mantra.
David,
Yeah.
the hardest thing for people, governments, organizations, people in power on a whole to do is to say, we made a mistake or we lied. It's the hardest thing to do. It's easier to try to sweep it under the rug or to sugarcoat it.
And that's
But to come out and to say something like that would put for lack of a better word, a damper or cause this discouragement and
enchantment in the group.
Enchantment in the group, yes. Thank you.
And that is fine for public office, for government and politician liars. Anyway, that's fine for them. Hand raised. Sorry. Go ahead. Roxy, you could come in. You don't have to raise your hand. Just come in. Because I doesn't see it, honey. Now,
Okay. The thing about it is this. I have also seen recently, I think just last year, where the Seventh-day Adventists and a couple of other churches all joined together with the Catholics. So to me, that was a negative, hence the reason why I stayed away even more from these denominations that are all joining into the Catholic faith to form a one world order of religion. And to me, that's a big, well, it's not a big lie, but it's a big lie.
Red flag.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know,
they all signed to the Unity Accord. Say people who was saying this one is that and that one is the other. What's his name is who held the conference? Kenneth Cox, one of the biggest thieves on the planet. Not Cox, sorry, Copeland.
Copeland, yes.
Sorry, I apologize. Copeland is the one who organized the whole thing, had the Pope talking from the Vatican to addressing the whole thing. That whole thing, and all of them sign off. Everybody sign off on it. Even the Muslims sign off on it.
And just to verify the point, I virtually attended a Seventh-day Adventist church, and I'm hearing the same discourse that you would hear in some Catholic churches, as well as some Pentecost and New Testament churches of God. So I was like, and I think even the Jehovah's Witnesses joined in. So to me, it's I'm
not sure. I think the Jehovah's Witness stayed out, if I'm not mistaken.
They stayed out. I was hearing some talk about them joining. I wasn't too sure.
If they did after, possible, but on that day, I remember reading up the article that they hadn't joined. Jehovah's Witness hadn't joined on that particular, at the session where they had that big signing ceremony.
So to me, none of these churches is something I want to be part of. None.
Likewise.
I think it shows that at the end of the day, they all one and the same and have the same leader.
They have the same leader. It's religion. It's called religion and they're all under one.
I believe that they're being led by the Catholic Church. And because they have these leaders who are wanting to finance their pockets even more.
It's all about the money.
Yeah.
But David,
yeah.
The whole purpose of that Kenneth Copeland whole fallacy was his cry, let's go back, let's repent. let's not protest anymore. We are no longer protesting. It's
Protestants,
over. And he lamented and cried, it's over. The protest is over. Let's go back. So it was all about forgiving the things that the Catholic Church have done. The Catholic Church saying, yes, we have done wrong and come back to us. And that's what the whole thing was all about. So, yeah, that was it.
All
so
right.
that come back to means to join allegiance again.
At the end of the day, I've been saying it for years. All religions belong to one head, and that is the devil. I say it without any apology. And I have the Bible support for it. And I mean, not taking text out of context. It's just simple. Just read the Bible for yourselves, guys. Any doctrines of men is not of God. Doctrines of men comes from the father of lies, not God. God cannot have a doctrine that have a mistake. He cannot have a doctrine where, and that's why they doesn't want to change, because they so feel the doctrine is God's own that, you know, if you're what's the word? If you're not agree, if you say that you made a mistake now, all of a sudden, well, it can't be of God, you know. So they can't think. But yet, this magazine that we just read there from 1948 admitted how many Adventists have you, and I ask, how many of us have ever heard of this magazine? None of us. Why? Because this is up in the echelons. This is circulated amongst ministers. So every time Sam always asking me, boy, these people just really know, and if they doesn't, and how come they ain't saying it? And well, look your proof here, Sam. Yes, they does really know, at least if they read in the magazine, etc., right? They does really know.
The only reason why I said yes is because mommy gets it.
Just do the one thing.
Right. Yeah, they no, not that they're doing their own thing. They knowingly doing their own thing. That's the point I'm making. Because if they're your official organ, and I'm not saying the young pastors who come out of CUC would have read this archive. As I said, they try to hide it as much as they could. Okay? But the point is, your official organ is saying, this thing is a lie. You have ministers coming and telling the lay persons like Sam and them, lay preachers or whatever, play it down, play it down. You're going to tell me that they didn't know why they're telling you to play it down? That they don't know it's a lie?
That statement upset me, and I started to step light on almost everything, because I realized I have plenty things under the blanket that we know about. This religion thing is something else.
Yeah.
Another thing, like I guess, like you were saying, I always asking you about this thing. I can't understand it. We talking about reality and truth. We talking about God. We talking about salvation. We talking about the devil. We talking in general of a situation which is real in your mind. And then you will stand up and do something like this and preach to you. So you have no fear then, but you don't believe that God is real or some kind of thing. Because how you could know these things? You know these things. You are a leader and you're promulgating something completely different. That had me down, but understanding getting clear now.
Dr. Nine, this is not the only lie. Okay, it have many lies, and not just the Adventist church. Every single church. If you really dig deeper than the rug, you know, not just the surface, you will find the lies. Anything that isn't scriptural is lies. Okay, guys. So I'm alerting you all to this one. Why? Because of, well, hopefully we'll be coming to it next week with our deeper study back into Revelation 13 and 17. And it is important that we not study these counterfeit, because there's a zillion of them. But I raised this one because it is one that has caused much problems, for want of a better word, outside there for many people. Because whether it is the Vicarius Filii De Lie or another reason, the poor Pope is being branded the beast for years by not just Adventists, by many Protestant churches. And all of them have a reason for it. The Adventist one was for Vicarius Filii De Lie. Other zone is the Pope do this or the Pope do that, and whatever. Right? Long and short of it is this. When you hear of the beast, you think, okay, organization, You think religion, and bam, the Pope gets branded. Well, the mistake was first organization and religion. You see, one of the major mistakes that we make, again, straying away from the Bible. Let me put it this way. Let me ask a question. What are we doing here today? What would you call this? When we meet here on Sabbaths, what would we call this?
Study the word of God.
Studying the word of God, which is correct, right? I always stress that what we come here to do is study, Bible study. Okay, so if we added some song service and some, I don't know, Sabbath school or some kind of thing, if we added a little trinkets around it, what would we be doing?
Having a small church service.
Church service or worship, right? What we call worship, not so?
Yep.
Okay. Spoiler alert. Because you add song service or have what they call it, right? They call it nowadays, they don't call it song service no more. They call it music ministry or some kind of thing. So because you have that, you're not worshiping.
Praise and worship.
Praise and worship, yeah. Praise and worship session, right? You're not worshiping. Because you meet every morning with your family and you gather to pray, we call it worship. Okay, I'm going to be stepping on corns here. People get offended, but I say what I have to say straight. All they know me, very straight, because I always back it up with the word of God. You go and check for yourself. I don't need to do it. You go and check for yourself. Everybody here. If you don't take, in fact, I don't want you to believe me. I want you to go and check it. Check the whole of the New Testament. You'll find 31 cases, 31 citations of worship. See if at any time, if any one of them had to do with kneeling down in a church service, in a church, or praise and worship, and that was worship. Now, let me be fair. People go to church on Sabbath or Sunday or whatever, and they call it a worship service. That's the English term for it, and I have no problem with it. It is your worship service. You meet on mornings or evenings to have a family altar, and you call it worship. I have no problems with that. Call it as you may. What I am saying is that you can check the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, and that does not qualify as worship. That's all I am saying. It does not qualify as worship. Genesis 1. I know, shocking, the living string out all it, but I just talk straight. Genesis 1, on the seventh day, does it say God worshipped?
No.
No, he rested. What about the 10 Commandments, the fourth commandment? Most people could repeat it by heart. Does it say worship? No. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou do all thy labor and all thy work. But the 7 days, the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it, he rested, or in it, thou shalt not do no work and ding, 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 ding. But I read in the Deuteronomy version or the Exodus version. Anything about worship? It recalls the creation and says, in it God, for in 6 days God created the heaven and the earth, and he rested, which is exactly what Genesis said. It never say he worshipped. Or Adam and Eve worshipped. Check it for yourself, guys. So how comes all of a sudden worship is going to church? Satan had the opportunity to ask Jesus. I'm referring to the three temptations after he came out of the wilderness. First one was try to turn stone into bread, or challenge him to turn stone into bread. Second one, he was in the temple, literally on the highest point on the temple, which will be the most holy place. He carried him on top of there. That is the most holy place. That is the highest point in the temple. So if there was any time to worship as how we consider worship, the word worship, then it would have been there. You know, he didn't tell him worship him there. He tell him jump off on the angels, let the angels catch him. After that, he carried him on a high mountain. A mountain.
A mountaintop experience.
And tell him, I can give you everything if you just bow down and worship me. And Jesus' answer to him was very clear. Get the hands, get away from me, boy. You know, I serve, notice the word, I serve only God. I will never serve you. You see, that is the essence of worship. And unless we understand that, you'll never understand the mark of the beast. Because as long as we think the mark of the beast has something to do with religion, you're looking for a religious figure, you wouldn't find the answer. It never had to do anything with worshiping as how we have been led to believe. So we read in Revelation and they worship the beast. Aha, Catholic Church, because that's worship. It have nothing to do with going to church. And it have nothing to do with the church. Full stop. Read the New Testament, read the whole Old Testament too, but why I'm saying the New is because word for word, you could compare it with the word in Revelation. Every time you see the word worship, you'll be able to compare it in your New Testament, Greek for Greek. Okay, 31 times. You would not find that worship has anything to do with what we say worship is today. You see Jesus walking down the street and some men run up to him and worship him. You ask him what you want.
So David, that word worship there that you're mentioning from Matthew basically says to crouch or to lick or to kiss their hand, to pay homage, to prostrate, to reverence or to adore.
Mm-hmm. Right, you're reading straight from the Strong's there, and that's what the meaning of the word is, but it has nothing to do with having family worship,
right,
or going to church
worship.
Neither would you find it anywhere in scriptures where that is what worship is.
Right.
Now, let me hasten to add that David organized a big music committee and band and so on to accompany their worship. Notice I said to accompany. You see, you cannot take away what worship is and use the band and the music and so on and say, yeah, that is worship. You see David and them do it. No. Let me explain quickly. Worship, for starters, is obedience to God. That is what worship is, serving God. You cannot serve the beast or mammon and God at the same time. It has nothing to do with kneeling down and praying. Worship is about obedience to God. So when Abraham went to sacrifice Isaac, he said, you guys stay here and me and Isaac will go ahead and worship. That's what he said. When God set up the tabernacle in the wilderness and they had to bring how many lambs and turtle doves and etc., that was called worship. That is what it is. It is those things. When they came to Jerusalem to worship, it was to sacrifice, to do what God said to do. That is worship. They don't call going to synagogues worship. That is not worship. That is going to study or read the scriptures, etc., etc. But when you come to Jerusalem to do the ceremonial things that they had to do, that was called worship. When Jesus met the Samaritan woman on the mountain, she said, but our fathers tell us that here's the mountain we're supposed to worship on, and all you say is there, which is referring to where the temple is where you're supposed to worship on. And that's a big story, so we're not going to get into it. But the point is, Jesus said, none of all I know all they're talking about. Soon, the Samaritans, don't know what they're talking about. The Jews know what they're talking about. But soon, it will neither be here nor there. For now men will worship me in the future, soon, in spirit and in truth. It will neither be that mountain or another mountain. That's what Jesus said. Spirit and truth had nothing to do with going to a building and saying you're worshiping, or even in your own bedroom. Worshiping God in spirit and truth is two things: mind, and truth is physical in what you do. A subject that we will cover in more detail as we get into the mark of the beast and written on the forehead and the hand. Right. So you'll see men like John, even in Revelation, kneel down, worshiping, want to worship the angel, and the angels, nope, nope, nope. And nothing to do with saying no prayers or singing and dancing. You'll see the 24 elders bow down, lay their crowns and worship. Nothing to do with singing or prayers. And throughout the New Testament, I tell you, just look at it and you will see, right? It will help us to understand the mark of the beast much easier if we get the word worship correct. What it really means to worship. Because if it says that you will, if it says that you will, those who take the mark will worship the beast, worship his image, and by extension, worship the dragon, then we must understand what that means. Go ahead.
Oh, just pertaining to worship, one of my thoughts are this. When Christ said that you didn't neither worship here nor there, we remember that the Bible tells us that our bodies are the temples of the Holy Ghost, and it is with our bodies, and just to back up what you said, with our minds and our hands, what we do with our bodies, how we obey, and what we do with our life according to what God requires of us. For example, just by loving, by the way we love and how we act out that love towards one another is in obedience, and it is my thought that that is our act of worship.
That is the act of worship. Ultimately, that is obeying God's command. Whatever it is obedient. It boils down to obedience to God. If Jesus had done anything that Satan had said, from the turning stones to bread, he would have worshipped Satan because he'd have obeyed Satan. That was the whole thing. Right? It says, in vain do they worship me. This is Jesus again. In vain do they worship me, teaching commandments of men as doctrine or something to that effect. I can't remember the text word for word.
Teaching for doctrines, the commandments of men.
Means that you're not worshiping God. All them doctrines of men, as that's why I'm pointing out this, all of that is nothing to do with worship to God.
So worship. Oh, just not that. Worship now taking shape in my mind as a way of life. You know, both a hearer and a doer of the word.
Yes.
So you absorb the word in your mind, and you live it out in actuality.
All right, I'll just throw this last piece in as a kind of wedge. As you all study for yourself, you'll kind of start getting it. And that is, when you see this thing in Revelation about the mark of the beast in the hand and the head, where's the very first place in the scriptures that is mentioned? If we want to understand the Bible, we must read the Bible to understand. We can't go to other places to get it. You can't go to science to get chip in your head and injection on your arm. No. Where would we find the answer to what this relates to? It's in the scriptures.
I'm guessing that where it's written, the text is, write your word upon my heart and mind that I might not sin against God. That's the thought that's coming to my mind.
Not exactly. There's a word for word equivalent to this. And for time's sake, we'll jump straight to it. It's in Exodus, right? Where they were leaving, before they left Egypt, and God gave them the Passover. He said, listen, in time, your children is going to be asking, why do we do this, and so on and so on, and what is this all about, right? Moses told them clearly, from God, that what I want you to do is write it have it in the frontlets, which simply means forehead. Frontlets is a King James version that just shows you off. The frontlets between the eyes. The word means forehead, your forehead, which is the same thing as the mark of the beast. It will be in your forehead or in your arm. And he said, make sure that you have it in your arm. I'm not going to get into it today. I just threw in it as a wedge. You all could go check it for yourself. And what did it mean? It was the doing of the Passover when they carried it out physically, splashing the blood, killing the sheep, whatever, as God laid it out for them to do, and remembering to do that annually. The actual doing and the keeping it in their memory, why they were doing it, is what Moses was explaining the mark in the forehead and in the arm to be. It was never a physical mark or an injection. I just get upset with people sending me things still, knowing how I feel about Mark of the Beast and the nonsense that is promoted out there. But these people just promoting nonsense. For starters, anytime anybody says Mark of the Beast and Antichrist in the same sentence, I'm turned off immediately. Because even a fool could read the Bible and see that Antichrist is 5 times written in the Bible, 5 times by the same author, John. And nowhere could you take that, what he wrote about Antichrist, and put that with the beast in Revelation. It's just impossible to try and merge the two. And yet, that is what you hear all the time.
Additionally, Revelation never talked about Antichrist. Talk about the false prophet, the beast and the false prophet.
Yeah.
Not Antichrist.
And this is what I'm saying. If you read, the person who came up with the term Antichrist is John. He writes about it 5 times. It's easy to find it. 1 John, 2 John. Read what he says about it. It's impossible to put that with the beast or the false prophet. It's just impossible. If anybody hasn't checked it yet, go read it again. Just put Antichrist 5 times. It was short. Read in context what the term means, what he was referring to, and you would see that it can't ever relate to the beast or the false prophet. So I'm saying all that to say that there's a lot of lies in the pipes. If we were to try to study all of those lies, we'll be here forever. We don't have forever. So by God's grace, next week we'll be starting, well, not starting, but continuing kind of way on our quest back into Revelation to put this to bed. But before we reach there, did anybody read or listen 2nd Ezra? Because that is what's going to carry us there.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Good. So
Yes.
so it means that by now you would have come to chapter 12, which says that Ezra got some information linking the prophecy of Daniel, and particularly Daniel chapter 7, that Daniel didn't get.
Yep. Got it. He said he would explain to him what wasn't explained to Daniel, basically.
He said, I gave your brother Daniel some information, but because of Ezra's persistence, do you all notice in the first 11 chapters, Ezra first he fasted for 7 days, then he fasted for another 7 days, then every time he fasted for 7 days, and this is consecutively, he got a little more information. By the time he reached chapter 12, the angels say, don't fast no more. You fasted enough. It's time for us to document what you have learned. So I'm going to get some scribes, and I'm going to give you all the data. Let's pen it. It is this man that influenced something that I did recently. It is this. I've been studying this for months now, and understanding his desire for wisdom. And what is the same wisdom we're looking for to understand what will be the end? That is what he was asking. What will be the end of all this? And the angel said, you want to know? Go and fast for 7 days. He came out of the fast, he got a little bit. You want more? He said, want more? Go and fast again. Every time he wanted more, he had to go and fast. And that, my brethren, is a very big indicator for us. If we want wisdom, can't just, I want some wisdom, I want some wisdom. Yeah, right. It takes a little more determination than that. Show some effort on your part if you really want it. And God will, as he did with Ezra, deliver. And I can testify of it because I followed his example. The number, got it. I was saying to somebody this week, when I got the number, it opened up another can of worms, because I honestly thought that in 666, if you get the 666, you automatically get the image of the beast and the mark, because it has always been taught that way. Only to realize the number is not the image, or it's not correlated to the image. They are 3 separate things. The image, the mark, and the number is 3 different things. The mark is not 666. The number of his name is the number of a man. It has nothing to do with no mark in your hand and your forehead. We'll get to it soon. But I would like people to read Ezra's chapter, well, no, read the whole thing. But when you get to chapter 12 is when it starts to get saucy. And it links, and correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, because this is, for me, it has done that. So for those of you who have read it, did you see how it literally linked Daniel and Revelation into one?
Yes. Yet there was still some things that I did not understand. And the first go, I had to go a second. And I think I'm going to have to go third and fourth and fifth, because some of the imagery were different, especially when you spoke about the eagle, you know, linking for me. Yeah. So I am not absolutely clear on it. Yeah.
And this is what I said last week. I have now crossed 100 times reading that book. And it is not straightforward that you could just read it and get it. No, you got to take your time with it.
Yeah.
Read it, compare it with Daniel, compare it with Revelation, compare it with the Bible. That's really it. You don't compare just Daniel and Revelation, but prophecy for prophecy. My goodness, it is the most amazing piece of information since sliced bread. That has been there all the time, and we didn't have, well, we were told that these are bad books, so you shouldn't read it, you know.
You know, David, the other thing too that it brought out is that there are other books that things that the scribes were given, and it was hidden, and it was only given to those who seek wisdom or who had wisdom. And there was just the Ezra, this 1 and 2 is what is given to anybody, but there's more, which is like, wow, you know.
Yep, and it's always like that, always. When Daniel got Daniel chapter 8, the Lord says, seal it up. That is not for now. I give you information, and when I'm ready to relate to who will listen, who have ears will hear. That's how God operates. He has always operated that way. To those who want to hear, information and wisdom will be given. To those who want to do their own thing, they just don't hear. I mean, we saw it when Jesus was here, right? Those of you who have no clue of what I'm talking about right now, it's because you haven't done the research or listened to Ezra's chapter 2, listen it or look at it. And I will strongly again advise you, still have a week before we get into the topic, okay? It will be much easier to understand and the discussions will be much more, everybody kind of, I would prefer a lot more discussions rather, and I like just saying this is that and that is, read for your guys selves and come with your own thoughts and opinions, and let's see if they gel with scriptures. Because at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. Is it the word of God or is it my thoughts? All of us could have thoughts, but at the end of the day, it boils down to the only thought that counts is the ones that fuse with the scripture.